much. Faran, welcome. I'm glad you're joining us on Zoom now. First of all, it's great to see you again. And we mustn't lose touch. How has it been adjusting to the suddenness of the disappearance of RT America?
You know, George, it's interesting here in the United States. I never thought that we would have gotten all the support that we have. For those that don't know, now I'm on Radio Sputnik and I'm co-hosting the show Fault Lines, and also probably going to be taking over for Lee Stranahan for a little bit because he recently suffered a stroke. So thoughts and prayers with him.
Indeed.
But,
God bless him.
Yes, and hoping for a speedy recovery. But we've had so much support. And now with YouTube taking down all of the videos, you even have other journalists like Abby Martin, who used to work at RT America almost 10 years ago now, all of them getting their videos scrubbed from YouTube. And people have been reaching out to us on Twitter asking, where can we find you? You know, we want to keep this going. And it's been a lot of more of the people pushing us to keep it going, which then in turn helps us and myself want to keep speaking and raising our voices. You know, it was so interesting. The reason I called into the show earlier was just to say a comment to you. Was last night I was putting together, you know, a little bathroom cabinet. Truth be told, I love putting together furniture. You wouldn't believe it. But and I have my YouTube going and I'm watching the Jimmy Dore podcast, who him and my father actually graduated from the same high school here in the States.
Wow.
From Chicago, Illinois. And all of a sudden the podcast is over and then a video comes up that's a recommended YouTube video. And it starts saying, you know, we in the Congress, this is the hearing for, you know, MP George Galloway. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? I know that guy. And it was when you testified before Congress about how there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And George, I have to tell you, it was one of the most brilliant opening speeches that I've ever, and you have a lot of brilliant speeches, but this one where you looked at these gentlemen and you called them out and they were trying to, you know, charge you with corruption for having knowledge of this, and the way that you just broke down every single point. And I just started thinking, you know, this is, we're entering now kind of that Joseph McCarthy and the Hollywood blacklist era.
We are.
You saw it yourself with weapons of mass destruction, and you were able to knock it down because you still had a powerful voice. You still do, but they're trying to now bring down our voices even more. And for those that haven't seen it, it's on your YouTube. It was one of the most brilliant things that I've ever seen in my lifetime.
God bless you for that. Thank you. It was my best day so far, I like to say. God gave me wings that day. But the McCarthy point that you make is not only apposite, actually it's an understatement, because, you know, during the McCarthy era, there was a very limited number of media outlets. Now we've got McCarthyism across multiple platforms, and McCarthyism affecting millions of people. I myself have millions of followers. If I were taken off, millions of people would no longer have the ability to watch, hear what I was saying. So it's kind of like McCarthyism on stilts, this.
Yeah. Or as we say in the United States, McCarthyism on steroids,
Yeah.
You know, because, and I am very familiar with it because, believe it or not, back in my 7th grade year, I did a speech all about Joseph McCarthy and the Hollywood blacklist and why free speech is so important. And I won an award for it back in school. Wow. And, you know, seeing it now, and like you said, how it's even worse, and how, you know, the big thing that I'm seeing here, at least in the United States, is you always hear this word patriotism, and, you know, you're a Putin puppet. And I had recently just tweeted this out. I said, you know, I'm an American and I love my country and I love the freedoms that I have, or some would say the freedoms that we used to have. But the other thing is that I'm a patriot, and our government here is getting so corrupt. And I mean, it's been corrupt for a long time. And if you don't call out your government for what it's doing wrong, you're going to lose your country. You know, I'm anti-capitalism. I'm anti-big pharma. I'm anti-military industrial complex. I'm anti-war. You would think that that would be the most patriotic person, but no, now I'm tied with being a Putin puppet because I'm not towing the Ukrainian line. And again, a lot of Americans, I think, it's just being ingrained in their head of if you're not with Ukraine, then you're with Russia and you're a bad person. And there's nothing wrong with questioning your government. I had a great religion teacher growing up who said you should always question two things: your government and your religion. And if they question and push you back, then you're probably in a cult or in a really bad government.
That's actually quite brilliant. So how do people watch you now? They can hear you on your Sputnik radio, but are you also on some of the other platforms?
Right. YouTube, everything is fair and balanced. You have Twitter on fair and balanced. And then the other thing is everybody's pushing to Odyssey. That's the next big one where everybody's going. And they're saying that it's free speech there, but who knows how long that will last. But the point is that the fact that it's like every week something is getting taken down, or they keep moving the goalpost more and more and more.
Well, you mentioned our former colleague, Abby Martin, who actually left RT in protest at the 2014 events in Ukraine, never mind the 2022 events. So she could in no circumstances be described as a Putin puppet. But she is a magnificent journalist with a huge following, and she made 550 editions of Breaking the Set, I think it was called. Groundbreaking reportage on America, a real history of modern America on screen. And it's just all been wiped out. They literally deleted it, like throwing books on a fire.
Right. And this company, Odyssey, is actually working directly with her to get a lot of those episodes back. They're working with us at Radio Sputnik to try to get our Fault Line show back. But again, it's just scary how quickly, I believe we had a guest on the show last Friday who said, he said Benito Mussolini said that, fascism can also be called corporatism. And when you have it, like my friend Jimmy Dore said, when you have big pharma, the military industrial complex, and big tech all in control of everything, and just with the push of a button, all of your hard work can go, that to me sounds like fascism.
Absolutely. Book burning. Faran Fronczak, thank you very much for joining us.